Hello and welcome everyone to another Starcraft 2 England cast. This game I've got for you today is the final game between TLO and WhiteRa from the TLO replay pack released by TeamLiquid Pro. Now the map is GSL Terminus SE and the players are obviously TLO playing as Game of Drones and the blue Zerg in the top position, and WhiteRa as the red Protoss player in the south position. Now, as I said, this is game 6 of 6 from the TLO replay pack between these two players. So I'm going to actually upload them all and put them all in a playlist together because this has been a really great kind of 6 games between the two of them. They both played incredibly well, showing some different styles, showing some different techniques, and really is good for just watching because they have varied around so much, but also good for learning. And now GSL Terminus is a very, very good map, obviously used in the GSL, and the interesting thing about it is you have this completely safe third. Now, I mean, obviously it does have rocks here, so you can't just go and take that third super quickly, so it doesn't actually favour Zerg as much as it does Protoss, but obviously Protoss can also get this good wall off here, and I mean, it's just a good map. It's really, really fun to play on, a nice easy third, so it does favour macro games. And TLO is not actually going for the... He's going to go for the hatch first, so he did have some success with this earlier, purely because WhiteRa hasn't actually been favouring the forge first, although this map he is going for that forge. And obviously the run distance between these two players is actually huge. This map is massive, and this is exactly why you don't go for the hatch first, because this pylon comes down, and now TLO hasn't even started his pull yet, and he's got to kill this probe. If this probe stays alive, he can get some cannons down. The pull is actually just finishing now, and this probe is going to go back and just start cannoning up TLO's natural. And he's got nothing to deal with this. He has got some drones there, but I mean, the cannon does get down. The second cannon comes down as well, and I mean, drones just aren't going to be able to deal with this. There's just too much stuff, and it'll be interesting to see if WhiteRa chooses to drop another pylon just to make sure, but actually just going for another photon cannon. And I mean, he's just got to cancel one, and so many drones being pulled here. It's so much mining time lost, and not to mention the fact that WhiteRa can just cancel them just before they're killed, get more up, just building more and more photon cannons. A second pylon coming out as well now, getting more pylons, and all of these drones are being pulled out and are slowly munching their way through, but this center cannon is completely shielded by pylons, so will almost certainly finish. And WhiteRa just doing this amazing job of cancelling and rebuilding pylons and cannons as needed as they are focused down. But it does look like this cannon will be able to finish now, and obviously that's when losses are going to start getting significant for TLO. Quite a few drones are getting focused down, but obviously 450 mineral investment here, and these drones are just being forced to fire against that cannon. I mean, TLO did a good job of defending that, lost 5 workers, but I think if we go to the loss tab, that was very, very much in the favour of TLO. I mean, WhiteRa lost 636 minerals through cancelling and also just rebuilding pylons, so big losses for WhiteRa there, and didn't do enough damage, I don't think, to make it worthwhile. I mean, TLO's got this second base up and he only lost 5 workers. It's not big. He did lose an awful lot of mining time though, and that really was the most considerable thing from that harassment, but still it delayed WhiteRa's natural incredibly, delayed this gateway incredibly, so WhiteRa has no tech at the moment, and I mean, he's going to have a tough time going into this because TLO can now just drone, actually choosing to get some Zerglings out and just going to scout around, make sure there's nothing too fishy going on, make sure there's no pylon somewhere he doesn't know about, but obviously knows the probe has been killed, and these Zerglings are just going to start working on these rocks. Will take a long time. The rocks do have 2,000 health points, and Zerglings don't do particularly much damage as just 2. So TLO taking this third base out in the front. Now, this is a lot harder to defend, but I mean, TLO needs to do it. He needs to be 3 bases to the 2 bases of WhiteRa, although WhiteRa spends so much investing in these pylons and cannons that the fact that they did so little damage means that I'd actually call this game in favour of TLO at the moment, but there was a lot of lost mining time, so it's not as huge as it may appear. Now, a cybernetic score is on the way down now for WhiteRa, and this is an insanely late cybernetic score purely because of so much being put into that cannon play. And this overlord just coming in, scouting the rocks are still up, so there is no third base for WhiteRa at the moment. TLO, meanwhile, is still working on those rocks, getting his third base out. His natural is pretty much saturated. Got his third gas up as well. Second gas rather. Hasn't quite taken a third or fourth gas yet, but it probably will come out soon. No speed started yet either game, this evolution chamber, just in case there's any airplay or DTs coming in. And getting his lair before speed, that's fairly standard. You don't actually need speed urgently to defend on this map or in any map in ZvP. So get the lair first and then you're protected against kind of quite a lot more as opposed to what Zerglings will allow you to protect. Now, a robotic facility is on its way down for WhiteRa. He is also getting +1 and warp gate tech and is now just starting to build these gateways, so going for a very similar build he has done in the previous matches of just getting that one robo facility first and then getting the gateways up. It'll be interesting to see if he goes for a warp prism or just straight to the Colossus like he did in the last map. But still, TLO has got this third base up. Those rocks are about half dead now, and TLO just droning. If we take a look at the drone count, already up to 55 drones with 4 more on the way, so only a matter of time before he hits that magical 75 drone point, and at which point TLO will just start maxing out units. He's getting this rotary one down in preparation, getting the +1 carapace upgrade, and I mean, it's just a matter of time. Great pylon placement though by WhiteRa, allowing him to easily harass this third base of TLO, but not got any DTs or anything like that, so it will just be fairly standard. And it's an observer coming out of this robotics facility, so no super fast warp prism. These rocks are about to fall for WhiteRa, which means he will be able to get his third base up. And meanwhile, the rocks are still up for TLO because he just hasn't built any units at all. Is getting a spine crawler, which will help him deal with any sort of warped in units down here. Speed for both the Zerglings and Roaches on the way. Speed for Speedlings will be out any second. And the +1 carapace upgrade is about half done. Meanwhile, if we take a look down at this map, this Overseer is just going to spot that the third base has just been started, and it's pretty good timing for TLO. I mean, these rocks will eventually die, sending some more Zerglings in there now. He knows that if that third base is just coming out, he needs to get his fourth base ASAP to stay ahead. The Spire also coming out now for TLO, just scouting around to try and find where it is actually going down. And there we go. The Spire is coming down, but it will be seen by that observer. The Infestation Pit also coming down, so that'll either be used purely just to get up to Hive Tech and get Broodlords super quickly, or it will be used for the Mutalisk harass that TLO used the last game so effectively. Now this Overseer is just seeing absolutely everything that's going on. +2 on its way, Blink also on its way, and really this is the point that WhiteRa should move out and start applying pressure because he's got to do some damage. No sign of Robotics Bay coming out, so no Colossus anytime soon. No Immortal either, so that Robo Bay so far exclusively used for the Observer, and the 5th base now coming out for TLO, but it has been scouted by this probe and a pylon is coming out. Meanwhile, some Roaches coming around, Zerglings coming around, scouting everywhere. Just so many units and a big push coming in here, but I mean, there's quite a lot of units coming in and more Roaches are being forced back. A good force field there by WhiteRa, just making sure that there's no surround on the sentries. A pylon coming out even in a more forward position, but a great surround on all the Zealots. Too many Roaches there, and the Zealots are going to get cleaned up fairly quickly. +1 melee attack is down, obviously +1 armor is down for TLO, and only +1 attack for WhiteRa, forcing the cancel on that pylon and forcing WhiteRa back even more. Now those Roaches will be able to kite the Zealots back quite a long way because obviously the Roaches do have speed, and I mean that's just 3 units for TLO there, and I mean kind of a stalemate here. Neither player wants to engage too much. I mean TLO, if he gets a good surround, can do a lot of damage, can clean up this army, but it is assuming that he manages to get this round. One Stalker goes down. I mean, more of these Zealots are getting picked off, and these are just 3 units. TLO taking basically no damage. Meanwhile, the Dark Shrine is on its way now for WhiteRa. He's getting out a Warp Prism, so he's going to be dropping some DTs most probably. Meanwhile though, TLO has got his 5th base out, his 6th base out, but the 6th base is cannoned and got some zealots morphing in, so that is going to go down. I don't think those zerglings and roaches will be able to get there in time, at least not before that hatch does fall from the cannons and zealot pressure. But it should get cleaned up, and it was quite an investment taking out that base, and obviously TLO has got a spare base, one he prepared earlier. Now, if we take a look down, we still can see that WhiteRa just getting a couple more gateways added on, and the Dark Shrine is finishing up soon. Just more gateways and the Dark Shrine, so going to be kind of DTs into Archons, and it could be quite effective actually, because it hasn't been scouted that there is that Dark Shrine out. And if we take a quick look around, we've got a second Spire coming out, as well as a Great Spire half done for TLO, but no Spore Crawlers. I cannot see a single Spore Crawler anywhere on this map. More Spine Crawlers coming out, and there is an Overseer, but that Overseer is going out of position, and a good warping of Zealots here, and a DT coming in as well. No Overseer anywhere around, so this base will go down for TLO, and means that WhiteRa will actually be able to get himself a bit more ahead. And that DT being just picked up and warped down, just taking a couple of hits, but before this Overseer comes out, obviously Overseers should be scrambling to try and get covered all of TLO's bases, and TLO actually grabbing down that Spore Crawler quickly. He doesn't want that Greater Spire to get sniped, and it is something which is obviously a risk, and there's no Overseer here at the moment. The Queen is going to try and focus down the War Prism, but the DT focusing down the Queen. I am quite surprised that not more DTs are getting warped in, but as I say that, there goes WhiteRa getting that warp in when he wants to, basically, but choosing not to. I mean, he's seen that Spore Crawler is now finished and will be forced back, and a great fungal growth on that War Prism means the War Prism will get shut down. I mean, now WhiteRa has given away those DTs are there, it will mean that, I mean, TLO is going to make sure that no harassment is done by DTs. So again, a big investment by WhiteRa, which didn't really do as much damage as it needed to. Obviously, the best thing WhiteRa's done is he got those cannons up on the leftmost base for TLO, and also managed to snipe down the rightmost base for him. And I mean, these roaches are getting cleaned up quite nicely. Just a minor engagement, a good blink forward to get this round. No damage taken for WhiteRa as of yet, but his economy is going to be struggling because he's only on 3 bases compared to the 4/5, and a great blink forward and perfect timing. Going to try and focus down those Broodlords, but just the Broodlords will finish, and now those Broodlords have finished. There's fungal growth there as well, and I mean, those Stalkers are going to get cleaned up, and this is not a good position for WhiteRa at all. There are quite a few Immortals, but Immortals aren't effective against Broodlords because they cannot shoot up. And I mean, WhiteRa being forced back so far behind in supply now, behind in economy. I mean, this is not a good position. Also, WhiteRa has got one hell of a bank of money saved up, so while his economy should be behind, he's got enough money to build a lot of stuff, but just hasn't been building it, hasn't got the production facilities, and also in order to quickly ramp up. Meanwhile, TLO's keeping his money very, very low, even though he's on so many more bases, and this is a big push. A great fungal growth goes off there, locking those Stalkers in place, allowing those Roaches to do a lot of damage, and the Broodlords are moving forward. I mean, WhiteRa is pretty much finished here. He's only got a handful of Stalkers against a lot of Broodlords and a lot of Infestors and a lot of Roaches. That Cybernetics score will get focused down, so no more Stalkers will be coming out. That Colossus won't finish in time. There is a Warp Prism there, so the Warp Prism actually being used to drop the Stalkers behind the Broodlords, which could be very, very effective. Could use it to snipe out those Broodlords, which is exactly what he needs to do. The Broodlords are the heavy hitters, but I mean, there's just too many Roaches. Even if those Broodlords were to die, there's just too many Roaches. And I mean, WhiteRa now over 100 food behind, and this is pretty much GG. It's just whenever WhiteRa decides to tap out, he's got nothing he can really do. These Stalkers are coming up just to try and do some damage, but they're going to be met by so many Spine Crawlers that they aren't going to be able to kill him in time. I mean, WhiteRa trying to base raid, but a great transfuse there. Some good blinks going off by WhiteRa, just trying to keep those Stalkers alive as long as possible, and there is the GG, well played. So, thank you very much for watching. That was all of the games between WhiteRa and TLO. I'm going to try and upload them all together. As I said, I'll put them in a playlist. So, if you're watching this, hopefully you've just reached the end of the playlist. In which case, if you enjoyed it, brilliant. Any comments, feel free to leave them either on the channel or add me on Twitter and follow me on there, because obviously I keep everything up to date with regards to games I've released. That is at SC2_England, and subscribe to my YouTube as well, and I'll keep getting these great casts up. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.